Welcome to my YouTube channel, Homeopathic Super Sessions by Dr. Jagos. Today, I'll be doing J.H. Allen, The Mental Sphere. Many a times we have heard that the remarks of physicians saying that they've obtained good results or success by basing their prescriptions on mental symptoms. So, Dr. J.H. Allen has said that many physicians have remarked that they have got successful, they have got success in their practice by basing their prescriptions only on mental symptoms. So any expression of life can be affected by the actions of the miasm. So furthermore, he says that any expression of life, it is always affected by the actions of the miasm. The nature of the mental perversion can be traced to the prevailing of the active miasm. So whatever mental perversion is there, or whatever mental symptoms are there coming up because of the perversion, they are traced to the active miasms. So if a syphilitic miasm is present, the symptomatology will revolve around antisyphilitic remedies such as syphilinum, mercury, nitric acid, etc. So you have to identify the state of miasm. So for example, if a syphilitic miasm is present, then we'll have antisyphilitic remedies as mentioned here. Or if the soric or psychotic miasm is present, then we can select remedies having the soric or psychotic taint. The miasms become very clear in the acute stages by the characteristic symptomatology, so that diagnosis is possible. So he further says that in acute stages, the miasms are very crystal clear because they have their characteristic signs and symptoms, and as a result of which even diagnosis is possible. The problem comes when the miasms are present in the latent or the chronic state. So the problem will arise when the miasms are in the latent or in the chronic stage. Here the difficulty arises of tracing the picture of the disease. Why? Because the symptoms are faint or we get only single isolated symptoms. The local or pathological signs are absent, and the mental phenomena is due to the mixed miasm. So whatever mental symptoms you're getting in a chronic or the latent stage, it is generally of a mixed miasm. In fact, all the chronic miasms, there are some added mental worry of long standing. So furthermore, at the level of the mental state, he says that in all the chronic miasms, on the mental state, there are some added mental worries of long standing. This magnifies the present condition and it causes confusion as they attempt to analyze the mixed phenomena. So what happens when, along with the mental state, whatever miasm is there behind the mental state, those symptoms are there. In addition to that, there is some long-standing mental worry. So what happens? This long-standing mental worry is mixed up with the true symptoms of the miasm. So hence it becomes difficult to analyze the mixed phenomenon. We fail to select the true basic remedy as we fail to understand the miasmatic phenomena and the relation it bears to each other, including the life force. So what happens when this sort of an condition arises, wherein the mental symptoms which arise from chronic miasm, in addition to that, there is additional mental worry of long standing, we get a mixed picture. So as a result of which it becomes difficult for the physician to select the simillimum or the true basic remedy. Why? Because we fail to understand the miasmatic phenomena, because the miasmatic phenomena is not very clear, including what relationship it bears to the life force. If, however, the miasmatic grouping is located to some organ like the heart, liver, or lung, then it becomes simple for the physician to analyze the condition. So Dr. J.H. Allen then further states that, however, if the miasmatic grouping or the miasm is present or is located in some particular organ like the liver, heart, or lung, it becomes easy for the physician to analyze the condition. Why? Firstly, the function of the organ have the simple physical expressions. Secondly, the patient recognizes the physical pain like tenderness, soreness, pressure, etc. So he's given two reasons. Number one, each organ has its own special physical expression, and the patient will express it through the subjective symptoms like pain, tenderness, soreness, pressure, etc. Furthermore, Dr. J.H. Allen says that we can also palpate, auscultate, and secure the symptoms in their pathological or therapeutic groups. So in an localized area or if a localized system part of the body is affected. We can also palpate and auscultate, and then we can also secure the symptoms which are pathological and which are useful for prescribing. That is a therapeutic group. This is not always the case when the mental phenomena has to be studied. So again, it reminds us that this is not the case when, especially when the mental phenomena has to be studied. As the brain is a complex organ and it gives forth physical and mental expression. So he says that the brain is a complex organ. It gives out both expressions, mental and physical. Thus, we cannot see in a clear way the relationship between the mental and the physical. So what happens? Both these expressions are mixed up and there's no clear demarcation. Well, in contrast to the heart, lung, or liver, we seem to understand their functions in a more familiar manner. So he says that if you compare it to the local organ or local part or local system of the body, like the heart, lung, or liver, we can definitely understand their functions more appropriately as compared to the mental phenomena, which is a complex organ and it gives mixed expression. We know the anatomy and the different functions. So in the local organs like the lung, liver, or the heart, we know the exact anatomy and also the different functions. But the strange and multiple expressions coming out from the brain confuses us. So again, he further says that whatever multiple expressions are coming out from the brain, it confuses the physician. We can group the relationship between bile and the process of digestion, the lungs and the process of circulation of air as a whole. But we cannot understand the mental phenomena of life. So to all these particular parts like the brain, the lungs, the heart, we can definitely have some correlation between what physiological processes are going on in the body. But he says we cannot understand the mental phenomena of life, or it becomes difficult to understand the mental phenomena of life. Whether they are normal or abnormal comes from the conscious or the subconscious mind. So furthermore, he says that on the mental level, whether they are normal or abnormal, or it comes from the conscious or the subconscious mind. Thus, we must become familiar with the action of the chronic miasm upon the mental sphere. So if we want to solve this confusion, we have to see the action of the chronic miasms on the mental sphere if we hope for success in curing our patients. For example, in psychotic miasm, the mental symptoms, anxiety, fear, and the patient is constantly examining the organs, looking for signs of the disease. So he gives an example of the psychotic miasm that the patient gets very anxious, he's very fearful, and he constantly goes on looking as to what is wrong with him, and he tries to find out what is the diagnosis of the disease. In Sora, the mental symptoms develop after a long illness or at the start of an acute severe illness. So he says that in Sora, it will start, the symptoms will develop after a prolonged illness, or it may begin also in an acute illness at the beginning. In the syphilitic miasm, the mental symptoms appear at the beginning or during some period of the secondary stage. So in syphilitic miasm, they appear at the beginning, or when the secondary stage is there, during that period, the symptoms will be more pronounced. Very often in syphilitic psychotic miasm, the lesions are due to congestion of the meninges. Furthermore, he says that in the syphilitic or psychotic miasm, the lesions are there because of the congestion of the meninges of the brain. Symptoms of failure of memory following suppression of gonadal discharge are seen by many physicians. So I said that many physicians in their practice have seen that when suppression of gonadal discharge is there, symptoms of failure of memory come up in many patients. The symptoms become more pronounced as the basilar meninges become more and more congested. So as the meninges become more and more congested, or the inflammation goes on spreading on the meninges, the symptoms become more and more pronounced. They will produce symptoms of mania or true insanity when fully developed. So when the symptoms are fully developed, they will either produce symptoms of mania or true insanity. However, it is a slow process. The memory failing first for recent events and the past events are recalled vividly. So he said this is a slow process. The memory will first fail for the recent events and later on for the past events. This sort of mental symptoms are seen in the proving of Medoraino. So he says that this sort of symptoms in which when fully developed, mania or true insanity will come up, but the process is very slow. So this is seen in the drug proving of Medoraino. The mental phenomena in disease are important as through the mind, man sins and then he becomes disease. So again, it reminds us that the mental phenomena is of the utmost importance. Why? Because from the mind, all the bad thoughts arise. So the sins come and the disease become prominent. Because man sins, therefore the disease comes. Thus, Man thinks, he wills and acts as the outcome of this is a venereal disease. So whatever the man thinks, whatever his actions are there, whatever his will is there, all that will be the outcome of the venereal disease. So in a healthy state, the man's thinking, his perception, his action, his behavior is in harmony. In a disease state, the man's thoughts, action, and will are disturbed, as a result of which it gives rise to many diseases. For example, the venereal diseases. The mind is the ruling power of the body. So therefore, G.H. Allen again reminds us that the mind is the supreme ruling power of the body. It is the center of government for all the functions of the organ. So it is a main function, or it's a main center, or this government is there which controls all the functions of the organ. So he's compared the brain to a government, that in a country, if the government is stable, everything goes nice. And when the government gets unstable, everything goes weary or everything goes haywire. Similarly, in the body, also he compares the mind to the government, saying that if the mind is stable, there is harmony. If the mind is unstable, there is disharmony. Thus, the wrong thinking, the will and action will give rise to physical and mental disease. So therefore, if your thinking process is wrong, if your will and action also are wrong, so basically if your thinking, your understanding and your actions are wrong, they will give rise to physical and mental disease. Even Kent is of the same opinion that the first wrong thinking, the wrong action, and the wrong behavior will give rise to the disease condition. Thus, a syphilitic eruption of the body is because man had sinned against the mind and the spirit of the human body. So therefore, he says that the syphilitic eruption will arise on the body because the man had sinned against the mind and the spirit of the human body. Thus, we cannot hide anything from the law or from the law because the law is a revelation. So he said we cannot hide anything from the law because the law will help us to reveal anything. All things in nature are governed by the law. Therefore, in dealing with life, we must also note that normal life is governed by a law. So everything in life is governed by a specific law. As you all know, life is never static. It is always in motion. So it is in harmony in health. So basically, whenever we are dealing with life and all the physiological processes are in harmony, we are dealing with health. In disease condition, there's a perversion of the law, or the symptoms of disease are due to the broken law. But in a disease condition, when this harmony is disturbed or there is disharmony, then the diseases are there because the law is broken. The vibration of the life force is true biological action are fixed and resonate in perfect tune or blend in health. So similarly, so in the same way, it says that the vibrations of the life force in a true biological action are fixed and they resonate in a perfect tune or blend in health. That means whatever function of the life force is there, it works in harmony with the different physiological processes, as a result of which a blend of in health is there. In the disease condition, there is a perverted physiological action. So what happens in a disease condition? There is disharmony. There is the physiological action is disturbed, as a result of which it gets perverted. So therefore, disease sets in. They have no perfect rhythm and they interfere with the action of sickness upon the perverted vibratory changes. So the rhythm or the perfect rhythm is disturbed, as a result of which there is an irregular rhythm. This rhythm interferes with the action of the sickness upon the perverted vibratory changes. So whatever rhythm the vital force was flowing in the particular rhythm which maintains health, this rhythm was disturbed, as a result of which it becomes perverted vibratory changes take place in the body. That is the disease phenomenon. The remedies which we use also has its own peculiar mode of action, rhythm, and character. So again, it reminds us that even the remedies what we use, they have its own peculiar mode of action. They have a particular rhythm and they have a particular character. No two remedies are alike, thus we call it similar. Therefore, it says that no two remedies are alike. We can definitely differentiate one remedy from the other. Therefore, we can call it as a similar. The laws which govern our body also governs the mental sphere. Thus, the patient's body language, when he enters a clinic, will revolve around the mental phenomenon. So therefore, he says that when the patient enters your clinic, you have to see the patient's body language, as the body language will be dependent upon the mental phenomenon. So we may see fear, caution, or any other leading faculties. So when the patient enters the clinic, you can see the expression on the face. He could be fearful, he could be anxious, he could be nervous, and so on and so forth. So he says that in remedies also we can see this. For example, in borax, there's a fear of death, of being incurable. Fear of dogs under lysine, fear of darkness, night and thunderstorm under phosphorus. All this is exhibited due to the miasms present. They can be present in a singular or complex form. Quite often, mental symptoms are governed by planetary changes, by atmospheric or barometric changes. So furthermore, he adds that the mental symptoms are governed by the planetary changes. Full moon, no moon, new moon, all this affects the mental changes, also by atmospheric or barometric changes. This occurs because the center that governs these things are not acting normally, because the main center or the main government is not acting normally. The powers that control are out of tune, which causes disharmony in nature. So whatever powers are controlling the normal function of the body, they are out of tune, as a result of which disharmony occurs with nature. Our self-government is often disturbed by the action of the miasm upon the centers of the brain. So our government, that is the brain, it is disturbed because of the action of the miasms. Thus, the mind works to the physical. Thus, when the physical is out of tune, the mental is often disturbed. So therefore, they said that the mind works to the physical. That means what? That when the physical body is out of tune, or when the physical body is sick, the mind is also disturbed. The mind also rules over the body, so that we lay great importance to the mental miasmatic symptoms. Therefore, also he says that also the mind rules over the body. So the body rules over the mind rules over the body. As a result of which, importance of mental miasmatic symptoms have to be elicited. Hahnemann also gave them such great value as they were primary or the basic symptoms. When the remedy was carefully selected based upon the mental phenomena, the cure was quite prompt and often permanent. So therefore, Dr. J.H. Allen says that when a remedy was selected carefully based upon the mental phenomena, the cure was quite often and permanent, prompt and permanent. So that's all for this chapter. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much.